First of all, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Eva. I'm a yoga for runners teacher. I'm a massage therapist and a running technique coach as well. I've never really worked as a running technique coach after I've done my training. But what I have been doing is I took what I learned when I was studying into my yoga teaching to really be able to tailor my sessions to what we need as runners. So today I want to talk a little bit about calves, the most common reason for calf and also Achilles injuries. And I'll also give you some great exercise to get started with today. And I'll also get into how yoga can help us with the rehab, but also the prehab, so the prevention side of things. The initial reason for my this Facebook Live was to follow up on the core challenge that I've done at the end of January to answer some of the questions that I received if I've not yet responded to them via email. And then I started having calf pains when I was running, just like two of the other people that were on the core challenge in this group. So I thought I'd start off with this. So I did a little research, and some testing as well, which I want to talk to you about today. So I'm currently starting for my next marathon in May. It's a trail marathon up in the north of England. It's the Holy Island Marathon. If you've heard about it, great. If you haven't heard about it, go check it out. Definitely worth checking out. It looks amazing. Basically, you go running over the dunes, and then and there's a cutoff time. You actually run through the water, or through the sand, over onto the island. So yeah, the cutoff time is basically when the tide comes in. So be quick, and that's what I'm training for at the moment. I'll post a link underneath the video here if you're interested. So yeah, so what I've been doing is what a lot of runners do. I got a little too excited and I started off too quick, and I stepped up my training a little too quickly. And I'm just doing something every day because I've got some catching up to do, let's put it that way. I talk a little bit more about that later on. So basically what happened was that my calves started sending me some signals to stop or to slow down and just do some things a little different. So they both feel quite tight when I start running. So it's right at the beginning of my my runs. Obviously it means that, well, to me it means I'm not warmed up properly. So I'm not warmed up properly yet. And basically what I've been doing is I just kind of slowed it right down, not that I'm super fast anyway. Warmed up a little and did a little bit of brief stretching as well. Nothing crazy, just to just give it some slack. So a lot of times calf injuries are over. Hi, Catherine. A lot of times calf injuries are overuse injuries, yet it's not always the calf that's the actual problem. So there's obviously the extrinsic factors such as training errors, shoes, running terrain and surfaces. So yeah, extrinsic factors could be a reason. So any injury should be regarded as a kind of manifestation of dysfunction anywhere in the kinetic chain. We can't just look at the calf itself to look for the reason of the pain. So this holistic view of things is so important, especially if we've had any previous injuries or accidents in the past. So when you have a feel or look at your own calf, you'll see that there's actually two muscles involved. You may or may not already know that. So there's the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So the gastroc is the meatier part at the top half of the calf. It's got kind of two hands, and if you take your hands like that, and if you take your calves and kind of grab it on both sides, you can feel it in your thumbs. You can kind of dig into the calves like that. So that's the gastrocnemius, a bit the meatier part, and then there's the soleus, which is the one underneath. Well, kind of a little deep to the gastrocnemius and just kind of at the bottom half of your lower leg. So by the way, I'll post all the resources of what I'm talking about today down below, so you can read things up a little bit more detail if you want to. So, right, so now when you look at when the calf is most active when we're running, it's actually when the foot contacts the ground and begins to generate the hip extension to propel ourselves forward. So it's not actually calf raises we need to be doing a ton of. Instead, we want to reduce the load on the calves whenever the foot contacts the ground. So rather than pushing off, it's the coming down part of it that we want to focus on when we're training or wanting to improve on. So yeah, that in turn we can do by improving our running form. I've actually previously created a running meditation where I talk you through a number of cues to become aware of and tune into your running form. It takes you out for 30-minute, gentle 30-minute run. And I believe it's great if you want to start looking into improving your running form a little bit. If you've not checked it out yet, I'll add the link below as well. It's all free. So, right. So what's the number one thing to do if you want to decrease that pressure on the calf muscles when you're actually landing? So the number one thing that I found in my research that we need to do is work on hip extension, meaning glutes and hamstring activation. So which may sound familiar to you. So that's the knee, so that hip extension. You want to make sure that the knee is slightly bent when it passes underneath the body when you're running. So this then takes the pressure out of the calf muscles. So you don't want to, your leg doesn't want to be completely straight. And that's quite obvious. If your leg's completely straight, especially when you're landing with your heel first, there's a lot of braking force happening that's going through your ankle or your knee, obviously your hips, and right into the spine. And there's a lot of impact that's happening, and obviously we want to avoid that to be able to run smooth and fast and efficient. So so that makes sense, hopefully. So that's the one thing that you want to be doing. And then after that, we want to strengthen the calf muscles. However, as I said earlier, we don't want to be doing the calf raises until the cows come home, but instead, as the calves are actually used to or useful when we're running. So again, when the knee is slightly bent, and I'll go into that in a second. Prevention for Achilles injuries is obviously closely related, as you can imagine. And the problem here is that there's an extra element with the collagen fibers when the Achilles tendon or any tendon in general is damaged. So muscle tissue has more of an elastic quality to it, whereas collagen fibers is that kind of thick fibrous tissue that's not very elastic. And if you think about the stability and the connection the tendons need to provide, we don't want collagen to be super elastic. So it also has less blood supply, less than muscle, which is also the reason why it heals a little slower. If you've ever had plantar fasciitis, for example, you know how long it takes. I think it can take up to like 6 months or so to properly heal. It'll heal, of course. However, the collagen fibers are not as smooth and strong so basically when they're healing, the collagen fibers, they're not laid down as smooth and strong as they used to be. And they're kind of going over each other, across and whatnot. So it's a little more chaotic, a little more disorganized. Where am I? So it's a little more chaotic. So sadly not as strong. So we need to work on that. So a third thing that you want to be doing is to work on your ankle mobility and ankle strength, I suppose, as well. And a great one for the Achilles, or the whole ankle complex, is kind of eccentric heel drops. So what I said earlier, rather than doing the heel raises, you want to lower, I don't know if you can see my hand, lower the heel down, standing on a step, and then step, help yourself up with your left foot or with your other foot, come back up, and then slowly lower down. So that eccentric strength that you want to develop here. So yeah, do this both with your knees straight and also bend if you can. So let's come back to the hip strength and the stability of the prevention and rehab process. Oh, hi Oksana. Awesome, nice to see you here. Oh, so yeah, Oksana's, oh, I think so anyway, I'm not actually sure. She's doing the marathon as well in May, so I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. So it's been a while. Right, so let's come back to the hip strength and the stability of the prevention and the rehab process. There have been a number of studies that show that there's a major correlation between injured runners and weak hips. So, for example, there's a study where 30 runners who had all various hip and leg injuries had their hip strength tested in all 6 directions of motion, which is flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and then external rotation and internal rotation. So compared to a control group of healthy runners, the injured runners had weaker hip flexors and hip abductors, so abductors going out on the injured side, while the adductors were stronger on the injured side. So yeah, I'm not quite sure why that is. So there's also studies that confirm this with different leg injuries where hip weakness was a common reason. So what we said earlier in terms of our calves, we want to be working on hip extension, so working on the glutes and the hamstrings is beneficial here. Yeah, and the recruitment and the activation of the glutes and the hamstrings. For example, another example is IT syndrome. We want to be working on, or that's when the glutes medius is weak. I suppose we can't generally say it like that, but that's what we want to be strengthening. Tight TFL, obviously because it's directly connected to the ITB, it could cause knee pain as the tight ITB does. The ideal hip strength exercise here is maximize recruitment of the glutes, med and max, whilst minimizing the recruitment of the TFL. So yeah, just to provide the TFL some slack there. Right, so there are 6 top hip strength and stability exercises that I'm sure most of you will know and that are said to be the best ones to implement to prevent injuries in the kinetic chain downwards when we're running. There's the clamshell, side steps, single leg glutes bridges, which we do a lot obviously in yoga, bend knee and extending, knee hip extension is also one thing that we do a lot. There's side lying, leg lifts, and there's also single leg deadlifts or squats, a toughie. So yeah, 4 of those I've already included in a few sessions of my new Yoga for Runners course that's coming out on the 6th of March. And I'll make sure that I'll just include the other 2 as well, because they're obviously really important, as it seems. So yeah, it really is that simple and can do wonders for your running going forward. And obviously, if you've got any other imbalances within the body, you also, as I said earlier, want to be looking at the whole body rather than just that one muscle. Obviously, as we said now, the hip is a big area where we're looking at, or the ankles, the feet. I think it's all down to observation as well. So you want to really tune in and find that awareness of what's happening, what you're doing, if and when what's happening. And yeah, it's a journey really. So you can't really go and say, oh yes, it's just the glutes or just the gastrocnemius that's causing the pain. Obviously, again, as I said, if you've had a rupture somewhere, if you break your leg, broke your ankle, wherever, there's a different approach that you need to take. So just to kind of generalize a little bit, these hip exercises that I named earlier are a great start, where you can start to find more awareness and just really tune in and look what it does for you and your own running. So yeah, be mindful about the fact that if you've got recurring injuries, there's also residual scar tissue. And yeah, if massage for you, that's great. Self-massage is great for well-being, though I don't think we can go deep enough into the calf muscles itself. Maybe if you're like super strong, and even just kind of manipulating my own calf with my thumbs here, even though there's, if I've got a lot of strength there, I can already find areas which are quite tight and I can find some adhesions. Otherwise, it's quite tricky to, I don't know, get the whole benefit of a proper massage. So I don't have very much experience with foam rolling. I do it occasionally. It's quite painful, though I think it's got some amazing deeper qualities there as well in terms of the myofascial release. So yeah, in terms of massage, it's definitely important to go cross fiber rather than just long. They're called effleurage strokes. So we really want to go deep in there when we're massaging. I'm actually a little careful here, as there's an element of resistance as well. So if the pain's too strong, your body's just gonna fire back at you and wants to protect your calves, your muscles. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a fight going on. So I don't think actually an hour of intense deep tissue is that great. Yeah, it's a bit of a shock to the system. But again, go and if you like your sports massage, if you like the pain, go speak to your sports massage therapist about it and have that conversation. It'd be interesting to hear what they say. So factors when runners come to me for my massage, I'd say 99% of them, any person actually, whether they're runners or not, have a battlefield within their calves. There's always something going on, always something I can work with, any adhesion knots, what do you want to call it? And that's quite normal. If you think about it, we're always using them, whether we are walking, running, going upstairs, whatnot. We always have any some imbalances for further up the kinetic chain. As we said earlier, our calves have to take on a lot of the unnecessary load at times. Right. Yeah, so just before I go into kind of yoga application, let's have a quick look at calf pain when we're running. A friend of mine messaged me and said that he's been having trouble with his calf. So the pain in his right calf develops during the run and gradually gets worse as it continues. It aches for the rest of the day, and then with each run, it's been getting a little bit worse, and a little bit stronger. So yeah, we said earlier that there are a couple of reasons for the calf. So the calf could be overloaded, or the calf muscle may be weak, or there may be lack of endurance. So obviously I'm not a physio or an expert, so the first thing I recommend you or anyone, if you've got troubles that you don't know what to do with, go and have it checked out by a physio or a movement specialist. So yeah, just from kind of looking at my own research and my own study of running injuries over the years, it could definitely be a sign of simple fatigue, which is one easy way to look at it. If you start to increase your training intensity by introducing more hill runs or speed work. And at the same time increase your weekly mileage, and I think that's kind of what I've been doing. So I kind of jumped straight in as soon as I got all my registration confirmation for the marathon confirmed. So so the first thing that I would do, or I'm doing now, is just kind of step back a little bit and look what I'm doing and see what's happening. So the first thing is, to rest. I know it's not great advice, especially if you're just starting to train for a marathon or if you're in the middle of a marathon, but it's better than the pain that you're feeling right now, and it's also better than, you know, moving to the point where you're actually injured. So right now, take a step back, think clever, be clever and intelligent about how you're going to approach the next few weeks. So if you think about pain, it's a signal for our body that something is not right, and it asks us to do something differently, as I said earlier as well. So a lot of times it may not be not the pain itself or the area where we feel the pain itself, but it's radiating from somewhere, and we want to find the source of that. So whilst you're having a little rest, go ahead and do the exercise that I've mentioned earlier. So if you think it's calf weakness, you can go to a physio to have your calf strength assessed, but I'm sure you can, I don't know, probably find that somewhere online if you Google it too. If you have any additional symptoms, such as, you know, the pain getting even worse, if there's any swelling or any numbness, or, you know, anything else that's doesn't feel normal in that sense, don't wait and just go and have it checked out. You know, you better safe than sorry. And then of course there's also calf flexibility. Be sure to do some dynamic stretching prior to your running, such as kind of mini squats or lunges. Obviously don't go too crazy before you're actually running. Just warm yourself up. Just warm yourself up properly before you start. And I think that's one of the things that we don't tend to do as much, or I don't know very many runners that properly warm up. Just normally we kind of rock up at a club, the running club, and, you know, just dive in. There's always a little run to start with, and obviously that's good because you're getting into the motion of running. But yeah, maybe it's beneficial to take that a little more serious with a little more exercise before you're running. Right, after you're running, or after your strength work, use some more static calf stretches, such as standing on a step, kind of, you know, lowering your heel and just holding it there with both straight leg for the gastrocnemius, for the upper part of the lower leg, and then with your bent leg as well for the lower part of your lower leg. And then you can do those wall presses as well. I kind of like to do those wall presses with my toes, you know, pointing straight forward for, you know, the back of the leg, right back of the leg. But I also go into like a warrior stance, if you know what I mean. So the top foot, or the front foot rather, is bent, and the right or the back foot is kind of pointed out at an angle. So I go a little further into the outside of the leg as well. So yeah, any of the warrior postures are great. Warrior 1, warrior 2, you get a little bit of that hip opening as well. They're all great all-rounders for both mobilizing and strengthening the legs, including the calves, the ankles, and the Achilles as well. Right, so we've got downward facing dog. They're great for both the gastrocnemius and the soleus. And you get a little bit more of that upper body work as well, a little bit more of that extension of your shoulders and your arms, a little bit of that strength as well. One thing I want to mention here is that if you've got a lack of mobility in the back of your legs, may it be your hamstrings, your calves, your Achilles, your ankles, anywhere in the back line of your body, you may not be able to bring your heel down to the floor when you're in that downward facing dog position, you know, that inverted V shape. Don't worry about that. Don't try to kind of round your back to get the heel down. The first thing you want to be focusing on is bringing your to opening up within the spine. So you want to lengthen your spine first, and if the knees are bent and if you can still feel the stretch, that's great. And if not, you're gonna slowly work towards it. So don't worry too much about it. Right, next one. One other thing you could also do is to sit in a squat position, which So bend your knees, sit your bum down towards the heels, which is a fantastic stretch for your ankles. Obviously your Achilles and your calves as well, or your hips, get a good stretch as well as your lower back, or your whole back really, if you're really mindful. Some modification to make the squats a little easier is to just place your heels on a rolled up mat. So the heels are a little elevated. Excuse me. Yeah, that's going to make it a little easier to sit down with a long back as well. Then you can simply keep your heels up, but notice there's a little bit more effort involved for the shin bones, or the muscles around the shin bones in the front. And then you can also sit next to or lean against the wall, so you can just hang out there for a little bit. It's a nice way to just not worry about your back too much, and just kind of really relax into the hips. Yeah, and then just sit there, hang out a little, maybe watch TV, breathe in deeply, and as you exhale, maybe relax a little bit deeper into the hips. Notice how you can let go of that gripping that we so often do, or that we tend to do or like to do. Yeah, so if you've got any issues with this, challenge yourself and take 1 week, just 1 week, and take 3 to 5 minutes every day. 5 minutes, maybe a little bit or a little too much to start with, and sit in a squat and just notice the difference, how you progress throughout the week. Just that one position will make a huge difference here to your ankle mobility. Yeah. So what else have we got here? So in terms of the yoga application, there's a ton we can do. As in every position we move into, especially the standing postures, we're using the whole body, trying to find awareness and balance of strength and mobility, so we can really cultivate the ability to find effortlessness in what we do. And obviously in our case, we want to run better, run stronger, hopefully faster as well, be healthier and prevent injuries, and yes, recover quicker after tough training sessions. So yeah, I hope you found this chat useful. Before I wrap it up, I'd love to invite you to join my new online Yoga for Runners course, where I'm including loads of what I talked about today and a ton more. So there are 8 sessions coming out on the beginning of March. You'll find everything, yes, I said what we talked about today. So taking good care of our calves and our whole body. So if you sign before the end of tomorrow, you get a little more of a discount and some fantastic extras as well in terms of strength and stability sessions that I'll include for you. If you're based in or around Bristol, I'd also love to invite you to my next running and yoga workshop in person, so that's not online. Dates still to be confirmed, somewhere in June probably. And I'll add a link below. And again, I really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions at all, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I really want to do another one of these, just to get a little better as well with our, the Facebook Live business here. I'm not quite sure whether it's actually, oh no, I must be recording, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk to Catherine and Oksana as well. Right, so I'm thinking about hips and hamstrings this time. Obviously it's a huge complex area, and yeah, there's lots to talk about as well, strength and flexibility. And I'm also want to go into Becca's question about the plank posture. She had a question during the core challenge. Yeah, the plank posture and its benefits. And yeah, I have to just double check exactly what she said and what she asked. So yeah, if you've got any questions, anything you'd like me to know, or like you'd like to know, just let me know. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I shall see you next time. Thank you so much. Happy Friday, happy weekend, happy running. Much love, and bye for now.